little bit earlier today. I got an exciting day heading down to Fresno to look at several in-flight projects that we have working on. Actually going to be meeting another investor and friend in Gilroy and then driving up together. So that should be a lot of fun. But wanted to talk to you about what I saw in the headlines today. First and foremost, we had a couple of positive earnings announcements from retailers, which was nice to see. Both Target and Lowe's did what's called a beat and raise. So they beat on revenue, they beat on earnings per share, and they also raised their full year outlook. So this is on back of what did we have just last week? I think Walmart came out, Macy's came out, and Home Depot. So I think we're seeing a trend here. Maybe some of the older dinosaur companies like Macy's, which is the one that kicked this off and had a really disappointing number, is are in trouble. And then we saw what was next, and we saw Walmart, kind of the low end was okay. Home Depot grew but missed expectations on revenue. I think it was 150 million. But now we have Lowe's and Target beating. So this is I think this is a sign the consumer's doing okay, right? Again, a little bit of a look back, right? So this is 90 days ago, at least 90. The quarter was 90 days ago. So, but again, I think here is a sign that the consumer is doing okay. So that was pretty good to see. Saw something from the I forget what the firm is, basically talking about mortgage demand, and there was a big spike last week in applications around refinances mainly. They're talking about a 1% week on week drop, 0.9%. So I just rounded up to 1%. But when you look on it on a year over year basis, it's up 70%. So you got to watch some of these numbers. Sometimes they spin the headlines to be negative, and I think this is a pretty good example of it. Mortgage refinancing is going to be a big deal for a while, in my opinion, because I think there's even people that may have bought last year that could actually look at refinancing and just saving some significant dollars. So pretty cool to see. Again, I think the thing to watch for here is rates could go even lower. Is do people start using their homes as ATMs again? Right? Are they just you know taking the debt and recasting it at a lower rate? That'll be something to watch. Home equity lines and things of that nature. So be watching that. That'll be a long-term thing to watch for, but it's definitely out there and something we're looking for. The other thing we saw, and or at least I saw in that article, was they were talking about the supply of homes as we get to the end of the summer here is starting to drop. They made special call on what they called the low end. They didn't really specify what the low end was, but I'm going to say it's 50% below the median for the market. So in my area, right, if the median's 260, anything below 175 is probably what they're referring to. So that's interesting. And, it just goes to show that that's if you're going to invest and you want to be conservative on all aspects, investing below the median like that is a good idea because, again, they can't build them for that. Another article that I clicked on, there was somebody called the Bond King basically put out an article saying that the Fed has lost control of rates. I watched that or I clicked on it because, again, obviously, as a real estate investor, rates are, a significant variable in month to month, right? It's what my mortgages are tied to. And, if rates go lower, we can also look to refi and if we wanted, pull money out. I doubt we will. But we can always recast the debt and just increase monthly cash flow. It's not a bad thing. So that's interesting. The idea that the Fed has lost control of rates is, I don't know if it's a misnomer or just meant to catch your eye. They've only controlled what they've controlled forever, and it's the longer end of all of this is really based on the market, and again, always fear and greed, and when people get nervous, rates fall because they like the certainty of that. So again, just things to watch for. I did read one article talking about negative yield in corporate bonds, which was interesting. A lot of this is in Europe, with Switzerland being the biggest location, I guess, for these. But the fact that you can have negative yield in corporate debt was interesting. I had for years nobody talked about negative yield, but now it seems like it's becoming pretty common. And I think it's going to be interesting to see if negative yields really kind of becomes a thing, or maybe it's stuck in Europe, given what they have going on there. I don't know. And then finally, the one article I clicked on was actually probably a paid article. Once I clicked on it, I didn't look for that, but it was done by Fidelity, and it talked about record number of 401k accounts with $1 million in it. I thought that was interesting, right? Basically, this whole 401k thing is put a little bit in every paycheck and trust me for 40 or 50 years, and things will work out. So what I saw in that article was 196,000 people with Fidelity have over $1 million in their 401k account, which again, it's a record according to their article. I guess it's supposed to be a good thing, I guess. But I read the entire article, and it talked about Fidelity having 30 million accounts, which actually I thought was more interesting, right? So 30 million people, 401k with Fidelity. So I just did some quick math, right? Trying to figure out what percent of people have $1 million in their account. Now, obviously, with a 401k, the older you are, the better your chances, right? You can't, you're not going to get there in your 30s, right? But basically, 196,000 divided by 30 million, that's 0.65%, barely over 0.5%. So, this whole trust me for 40 years thing doesn't seem to be working. And now that could be lots of different reasons. People not contributing, people taking it out when they change jobs, who knows what. But I was not impressed, right, with 0.65% of people with Fidelity 401k accounts having $1 million. I would have thought it would be 5 to 7%, I would have thought, right? Just given that, you sort of, you do a bell curve of, there's 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, and I would have thought, there would have been a lot more people that have been putting in money for 40 years in their accounts. So I don't know. I just was interesting. Again, as always, I appreciate all the articles you all are sending me every day. If you find something you think is interesting, send me the link, put it in a comment. I'll see it. And well, I'm going to go off to Fresno and see what's going on out there. Have a great day, guys. Take care.